Hey guys, so sorry for being gone a little bit. It's kind of near the end of the semester, so I've been really busy with finals and stuff like that. And of course, I always get sick when the weather's change or when the weather changes. So yeah. Anyway, for today, I'm going to review a requested uh, film, which is the Blair Witch Project. And this came out in 1999, and it was kind of the film that's usually credited with being the first found footage film, or the one that made found footage film a popular subgenre. Now, I saw this in theaters when it came out, and how old was I in 1999? 13 or 14? And I know it was really hyped up when it came out because there had not been a film like that was filmed in that way. And I remember there was like all these articles and all this stuff about people that got sick or dizzy and didn't like the way it was filmed. Some people loved it, some people were just not used to it and didn't know what to think of it. So it was kind of a super hyped up film at the time. And now, of course, the market's kind of gotten oversaturated with found footage films. There's lots of them, and I guess it's a pretty popular subgenre. I like them. I mean, of course, there's bad ones just like there's bad ones in most of the kind of horror subgenres. But I don't know. I think they're interesting. I think there's a lot you can do with that format of found footage. So this was the first one, and it was, like I said, a different kind of experience. And I have not watched this film. I rewatched it to do this review, but I haven't watched this film in probably over a decade. Just because I don't know. I just haven't watched it. It's a film that I like, but I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of the film. And my thoughts, it was kind of interesting to see how I thought about it back then and how I think about it now. Because I've been into horror since I was like a little kid. And this was just kind of one of those new, like I said, a new type of film I hadn't seen before. And it was really interesting. Especially when you're in a theater with people, you always kind of have a different experience than when you're at home. So it was a good experience when I saw it. And I did think it was, I guess, scarier when I was younger. And kind of when I rewatched it, it's not scary or creepy anymore. But it did a lot of things well that I guess some found footage films don't do nowadays. And I guess I should go into the plot of it in case you haven't seen it, which I know a lot of people have, but some people haven't, surprisingly. But it takes place in 1994 in October. There's these three college students who are filming a documentary about a Blair Witch. And they go to Burkittsville, Maryland, where they're which used to be called, which used to be known as Blair, and they it's footage of them talking to the people that live in the town about the different stories associated with the Blair Witch and the different weird stuff that's happened in the woods and all that stuff. And before you get into the even story, they have a little I guess a little thing that tells you at the beginning that this was the footage of these filmmakers that disappeared in the woods, and the footage was found a year later, and they were never seen again. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And so I always thought that aspect was cool in the beginning when they're talking to all the different people that live there about all the different stories that they have of the town and of the related to the Blair Witch. So that was interesting. And then they go into the woods because they're trying to look at the different landmarks mentioned in the stories and trying to find this graveyard. Everything's going good, and of course, but as time goes on, it's Heather, Josh, and Michael, and Heather's kind of the leader and kind of has organized all this, and they get lost in the woods. And when you're watching it, of course, you're not sure if they're getting lost because they don't know where they're going, which is partly into it, or if there's something supernatural going on of why they can't get out of these woods when it's like you know, it's modern day America. How can you get lost in the woods now? And just more and more they get more annoyed with each other, and they're getting scared and creeped out, and they hear things at night when they're sleeping, and just that unease of being somewhere where they're not used to. And a good thing about this, which is these three people that are in this are actors. I think some of them are, but this was like they weren't really actors at the time, and you've never heard of them. They're not. I think that's just really good to put in a found footage film, is people that you don't know that can act and seem like they're not actors, that they're actually people in the situation, and that kind of makes it more realistic. And this did a good job with that, because a lot of times you do see in certain movies, like, you know, the actors, you've seen them and stuff before, so it's not, it kind of takes you out of that experience a little bit. So this movie, like I said, and also this movie was made for a really small amount of money, and it made millions back, which was also a big thing. Kind of similar to Paranormal Activity, which the first one was made really inexpensively and made so much money back. So that's also, you know, a reason why it got well, partly to do it, like I said, because it was something you hadn't seen before, but that's probably the reason, because it made so much money. And also, you know, Paranormal Activity is a found footage film too. So yeah. But it's very atmospheric, because you just in this, because there's not a lot, they're in the woods and that's the setting, so it's just kind of the atmosphere of them being scared and confused, and it getting more and more, they feel like they're not going to get out, and there's just something weird going on, and you already have like all these weird tales about stuff going on in the woods that just adds to the fear that they're already experiencing. And the acting was really naturalistic. Like, it was, like I said, a partly of the thing of them, you not knowing who the actors are, is the acting was really natural, because it's just, there's these people and they're getting angry at each other, and they're getting scared and cussing a lot, and just being, you know, totally uninhibited on film, because they don't care. It just, the acting with everything else just felt really natural, and that added to the overall, because really what this film does so well compared to other things is the atmosphere, because there's not stuff jumping out at you, there's not imagery, creepy imagery, because you never even see the witch or whatever other entities are in this woods. You never see it. It's just the sounds and the stories you already know, and then what the characters themselves are feeling and expressing. So in that sense, it's really successful in making you creeped out or scared when they're not showing anything to make you feel that way. But I would have to say, after rewatching it, it's just, I think it's a decent film, but I don't think it's a great film. It's, I've watched it with some people that haven't watched it before, and they enjoyed it, but it's not a film that, I really wouldn't even say it's one of my favorite found footage films either. I think there's been a lot of really great ones released since then. Now, this was like a precursor to that. But all in all, it's tough rating this one, because because it you know, it was kind of started like this trend of subgenre, and it did a lot of things really well. But for me, almost a 7, but not quite. Because like I said, I don't ever feel the need to rewatch this. Like, I rewatched it for this review, but I could probably go another 10 years without watching this. It's not one that I feel compelled to watch. So, and rewatchability is not necessarily makes or break a movie, because I mean, there's some movies that I love, but I couldn't rewatch them a lot just because they're so long or so emotionally like draining. But it's just not one that I own. I wouldn't mind owning it. It's just not one I, you know, purposely went out and bought, and it's not one that I ever rewatch. So, just for me, it's about a 6.5. It's a decent film, and it does a lot of things well. It's just probably, it's not the best found footage film for me, but it's still good. So that was my review of the Blair Witch Project, and as always, thank you so much for watching.